It's so good to be here, and I share your first feeling as well. It's good to be among people like me. So number one, I think what went wrong is that number one, 6 months is too long to do a review, performance review. I believe that performance review should be something continuous. Yeah, you can do the collation every 3 months or every 6 months, but performance reviews should be as frequent as monthly, because piling up what an employee has not done well and waiting till 6 months is you preparing them to fail, because you've noticed that they are not doing something wrong and you've purposely kept quiet for 6 months. So 6 months is too long for them to have done the review. Then number two, the review was not specific. The employee has, how am I doing? And the boss just replied, fine. Okay, so what is it that the employee is doing that is fine? Are there specific skills that you've noticed that this employee has excelled in? Are there things that you've noticed that they've not really excelled in that you can give them guidance on? Nothing. The person just replied fine and moved on with it. So two things that stood out for me: the interval, the time is 6 months is way too long, and then the review was not specific enough.
Fantastic. Like I said, it feels good to be among my people, right? So I'm not alone. Thank you so much to Missy for that brief and quite insightful one. Do we have any more feedback? Maybe we'll take one or two.
Hi, Ika. Good afternoon.
Hi, Roslyn. So good to see you. Good afternoon.
Yes. Okay, so I will just add to what the last person, spoke about. I mean, the girl didn't even know that she was coming for her own appraisal. Who does that, right? That's very unfair. You know that she's unprepared. So I think I'll just add that. I mean, she wasn't prepared. She didn't know she was going to have that meeting. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Roslyn. Like, who does that? It's a level of assumption for me, right? You should know why we are here. So let's just take one more, then we'll run through.
Okay, hello, Yinka, Layinka. Good afternoon,
Hi,
everyone. My name is Chinwoge.
Good
Okay, so if I don't know if I'm to act on assumption here, because if we are to go from the text that we have here, this process was not defined. There was no communication in terms of the process, the performance management process. I didn't hear about the goals that were set. How did they set the goal? Did the person even know what he or she was supposed to do from the beginning? How did they agree on the goals if it wasn't set? And how the communication that is very important in terms of the person clarifying what he's supposed to do and know, how to do this, because the person has to ask questions and even agree on it. And also you sign it and document it. All of those things were missing. That's communication part, setting of the goals. When it is absent, the person is just acting as the spirit leads. And then how come is it at the end of the time when you're now to measure that the person knows, oh, there is something like performance appraisal being appraised at this time. So the process needs to be defined. The metrics, the measurements, the objectives, the key results areas need to be set and be communicated. Very important to the person that is to take on this this role, and the person has to also understand it, agree. That agreement is very important on what the person has to do, and then you take it from there. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Inwe. Like I said, it feels good to be among my people, right? So this is just going to be like a review for us. Thank you so much, Inwe. I really appreciate that. So I'll just show us one or two things I highlighted, and we've said virtually everything. First thing, there's no HR or performance manager. It's just the CEO that feels like, oh. And I think it was Tomsi that mentioned that appraisal shouldn't be done, like there should be review in quarterly or monthly intervals, right? So performance appraisal is just what we do once in a year. Or once in 6 months, and that was months out. Lack of communication, like was said by Rosalind as well. She also mentioned that this afternoon, impacts of performance management, techniques for performance management, understanding OKR, and the benefit of automated performance management, right? So I'll just run through this like more like a reminder for us. So what's the impact of performance management on the employer? You're able to plan your workforce, you're able to see clearly what you're doing and what you should do better. You can estimate your return on investments or your employee revenue impact. If there's data for you for improvement and forecast, you are not just sitting down and saying, oh, what are we doing? What do we need to do, right? There is available data for you to analyze and do whatever you want with it. So performance management is a total reward contributor. A lot of things that can be used for total reward, but performance is sure a very important one. Promotes equity, improves healthy work culture. So where the performance or the objectives are not clear, people don't even know what to do to get promoted. And in that sense, they are beginning to look for loopholes, trying to bring each other down just so that they get favored and get promoted. So what does it do to our employee? It gives them meaning to the job, which helps them to stay more engaged and motivated, improves their self-worth. There's this thing about what am I really doing? Am I making any difference? Is it what being here? So it also improves autonomy. You're not micromanaging. You set the pace ahead of time and they're able to pick it up and move. It also increases the employer trust ratio. They trust the organization. The truth is there are job offers flying around everywhere and people want to be able to know that, okay, I am valued where I am and there's something in it for me. So performance management techniques, right? Like I said, this is going to be like a reminder for most of us. Let's just refresh our knowledge. So if you're looking at individual performance management, we are looking at things like performance development plans, performance appraisals, you can utilize feedbacks, you can do management by objectives, right? But when we're looking at a team or an organization, we are looking at techniques such as balanced scorecards, 360-degree feedback, KPIs, and OKRs, right? So now, we've talked about all of these kind of techniques, but for today, we'll just be really working around OKR, right? So what is OKR? Objectives and key results. And the process is as simple as it sounds, right? Objectives is a statement of a broad goal, usually qualitative in nature, right? A statement that measures, while the key results is a statement that measures achievements of a given objective. If I'm going too fast, please let me know. Just put something in the comment section so that I can tone it down, right? So what are the elements of objectives? So when we say this is an organizational objective, or this is an objective that we want to measure, what are the elements of the objective? Hi, Mubarak. Is Mubarak trying to tell me something? Okay, I'll just go ahead.
Yes.
So, all right. So when we talk about objectives, what does it mean to have an objective, right? The objective has to be time bound. Like we saw in the story, you can't just leave it to the air. You can't just say, oh, you can't just call people up one day and tell them you want to appraise them. There has to be a time bound inspirational goals. There has to be something that is really worthwhile, right? They are qualitative. They are not with metrics. I'm sure as we go further, we'll see examples of objectives. And they should move the company forward, right? They are not just that are meant to be there. There has to be, what are elements of key results? It has to be specific. So now, the objective is broad. It's qualitative. So OKR, the results are not trying to narrow it down. It has to be specific. It has to be quantifiable. Like it's quantitative, like you have to be able to measure it, right? It's achievable and it leads to objective grading. So whatever goals you're setting with the objectives, the key results will be able to grade these objectives, right? So what's the framework for OKR? The objective, right? They describe where you want to go. It's just like also buttressing on what I've said earlier. So these are the three major impacts or three major things that we need to look at. Now, the objective, which is the framework, that's where it starts. It usually starts with the management trying to decide the tune of the company for the next few weeks or few months, right? The key results is what shows us where we're going. And the initiative is what tells us how we're going to get there. So they are like, initiatives are like the little tasks that you do day in, day out that contributes to the key results that in turn contributes to the bigger objectives, right? So what are the don'ts of OKR? We're still going to compare OKR to other technical or performance techniques, but I'll just quickly mention these few ones, right? OKR shouldn't be too technical. The objectives shouldn't sound out of place. It should be something that people can comprehend. And it shouldn't be too easy as well. It shouldn't be easy peasy, you know. Making money is not easy and it's not cheap. You shouldn't have too many objectives and key results. Like it has to be minimal. When it's too much, it makes it very difficult to achieve. Not setting accurate timelines, or not even setting timelines at all. It's not a thing for OKR. Measurable key results. Your key results should be measurable, like I said. They shouldn't be vague, right? And you should always have the bigger picture in front of you. So now let's look at OKR versus balanced scorecard. My people, you see that side? It's the relief. If you try to measure performance using balanced scorecard, you will bless God for whoever bring the initiative or brought up the initiative of OKRs. Balanced scorecard is a lot, like a lot. You know, before you start thinking of, oh, how does this role, what's the financial measure of this role to the organization? What's the processes, internal processes like? What's the customer perspective? Imagine if you are trying to look for customer perspective for an admin person that does not even talk to any customer for that matter, right? It's a lot of brain work. It's a lot of work, but OKR is way simpler, right? The company tells us the objective. The team leaders, they cascade their objective into key results. They discuss with their team members and they bring out initiatives. So it's that easy, right? If they ask me, I don't know, maybe for your organization, I don't know how big it is, but for me, I'm just going to chill around my OKR and, you know. So what are the differences between OKRs and balanced scorecard? Balanced scorecard can be done annually or biannually. OKRs are done quarterly, sometimes monthly. OKRs are strategic, like what's the important thing that we want to focus on. So it's kind of narrow. It's not as broad. It's not as holistic as balanced scorecard. So balanced scorecard is bringing 4 perspectives on the table. It's good, right? Depending on what your company objective or goal is at that moment. However, for us as a company, I feel that OKR is still it for us. Now, stretch goals, like I said, the goals has to be worthwhile. Now, balanced scorecard stresses accountability. Remember, I was talking about how much effort you need to put into balanced scorecard. It also goes into keeping everyone accountable, trying to keep tabs of it. It's a whole lot of work, right? OKR is a freestyle way of setting goals. You're setting your goals and you're achieving your result without necessarily having to go through all the weight of performance management. Balanced scorecard, there's more structure of setting. Now, OKR is not really tied to compensation, it's tied to management, right? So appraisal is used for compensation, which you do annually or biannually for performance bonus and all of that. But OKR is majorly something we can use to get past whatever it is we're doing, right? So now we want to look at OKR versus KPI. So objective key results, key performance indicators, what's the difference? So I'm going to use the analogy of a car to kind of explain this because it can really be controversial. So imagine you have your car and you have your car dashboard where you have your fuel gauge, your internal checks, your speedometer, and all of that, right? Those things are indicators, and I'll link them to KPI. Now you have your windscreen that you can see through as to where you're going to. I call that OKR, right? Your KPIs are not bad in itself. They are needed. But with your dashboard, there's really nothing you can do. You can't move your car just by staring at your dashboard, right? So KPIs makes you see the important things that you need to understand about the important metrics that you need to understand about your organization. But it can really be static if you're not careful about it. But with your OKR, you can see clearly and you can accelerate. So your accelerator and your windscreen is like OKR, while your dashboard is like KPIs. You can actually see the things you need to have on it. You can see your fuel gauge, you can see your level of employee commitment, you can see the number of leads you're generating in your organization, but it does not really move you forward, right? So I'll just run through some of these things I have here. OKR has goal setting methodology that kind of accelerates performance. Metrics gives you a reflection of your performance, like I said. OKR focus on alignment and engagement. Metrics they use to measure and manage performance. OKR is on the go. So the objectives for this month might not necessarily be the objective for the next month. But if you are using KPIs, you will find out that you might have the same KPI for the same set of team members for a whole year. What you might want to change maybe might be the measures of your KPI, probably to say, okay, if a KPI is salespeople to generate 50 leads in a month, you can now say generate 70 leads in a month. But the metrics is kind of fixed, right? It's used for monitoring steady state and helps to set benchmarks. While this one, everyone is abreast with the organizational goals. Is it to say that KPIs are not relevant or they should be thrown away? Not necessarily, right? Because if you don't have your dashboard on your car, you might not even know what fuel gauge you have. But OKR is a step ahead of your KPIs. So yes, we've always worked with KPIs, but let's also look into OKR. So your OKRs can also be used to step your KPI game forward. So once you see your performance, how do you now move from a point that you are to the next point you're going? And that's where your OKR comes in, right? And just like this picture signifies, OKR is towards growth. There's something you're trying to achieve. KPI is just trying to show you the indicators of your state of organization. So let's talk about OKR. Let's give an example of OKR for HR. So I'm using OKR for HR because I know we can relate better, right? So the objective here is so the company sets an objective of possibly the people objective is retention, like we want to retain more people or we just want to make our people satisfied. Now, the objective comes to the people team and it comes with build a world-class employee onboarding program. We know as human resources professionals that your onboarding is a whole lot, like the number of time your employee will spend in your organization has to do largely with the onboarding process. Just like first impression matters to a lot of people, right? So you have the objective. So what are the key results you want to look at? 100% of new recruits have their workstation set up on day one. So that way, it is measurable, right? And it also tells the employee that they have me in mind. They didn't just put out a job advert. They've planned for me. I'm welcome here. And so now, the key result here is 100% of recruits have their station set up. Now, your initiative might now be to say that whoever is in charge, probably the admin person, should get all the workstation ready 2 days before the employee gets in. So improve onboarding satisfaction to score from 70, right? So you need to 90. These are the things that you need to now say, okay, do we have So your task here, which will now be the initiative, will now be, do we have an onboarding survey? Is there a way we measure how satisfied our new entrants or new entries are in the company? So the task for this result will now be, set up an onboarding survey. I hope you understand now. So the next key result is 80% of new hires manage to complete their onboarding checklist within 30 days, right? Your task here or the initiative will also now be, how do we manage this? How do we know? Do we have a dashboard that shows us what is happening and what is not happening, right? So I hope with this, you're able to understand how OKR can be trickled down, right? Now, what OKR is not. So when I was saying, while I was talking about it earlier, I was talking about OKRs, initiatives, like the objectives, the initiatives, and the results. Key results are not tasks, right? Key results are not, they are not the tasks to do. They are the things to measure. So if you look at this thing on my screen, you will see bad key results, which says organize 5 webinars and engage the audience. That's a task. It's not a key result. The key result is to have 90% of attendees listen until the end of the session, right? So if we have a webinar going on now, what are the outcomes? What do we want to see? Oh, how many people started? Probably were 50. How many people ended the session? So we are organizing 5 webinars. They are just outputs. They are just things. And you can be busy and not actually have results, right? And that's one of the things KPI does. KPI can make you feel really busy. You're really keeping the tab on the indicators, but are you giving the desired outcome? Was it about you going from street to street and at the end of the day, you're still not able to come up with a desired result? So these are just a few things we need to look at when it comes to OKR. Now, we've talked about OKRs, we've talked about the importance, we've talked about the examples. Now we want to talk about how to align your OKR. So you need to, the good part about OKR, the benefit of aligning OKR with your team member is that before now, performance managers alongside the executives, they come together and say, oh, what do we want to achieve? And they give the objectives. And the performance manager or the HR sits down and begins to look for the metrics, how to measure. There's a lot of work on HR and the team leads. And by the time you're communicating these KPIs to your team members, they are looking like, these people are here again. How do they expect us to achieve this? There's really no synergy compared to OKR. OKR is a fusion of everybody. Everybody comes together to achieve it, right? There's an understanding of the bigger picture. So you know where the company wants to be, right? There's increased focus and discipline. So the team members have to come up with initiatives. So if there's ownership, there's a willingness to commit to it, other than something that was just forced down your throat to just be like, Shebi is their goal. I'll do it for them anyway. But when it comes to us deliberating on the key results, on the initiatives, there's a sense of ownership and people are likely to work better. It increases productivity and communication gets better, right? As we do all of these things. Now, I've talked about all of this. How do you now take advantage of technology for automated performance management? If you want to do OKR, if you go online now and say OKR for HR, you will see templates, right? So if you want to do it the traditional way, you get your template and you possibly put it on Excel sheets. Then you will now try to communicate it to everybody. So you're either jumping from one WhatsApp group to another, phone calls, trying to tell people that, oh, I've created an Excel sheet. This is what it's going to be about. Please check it, blah, 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 blah. When you're using an automated performance management system, the moment you document your OKR on the dashboard and you assign it to people, everyone that is involved in that process will see it on their dashboard. So even if you're trying to communicate with them, it's just more of a follow-up, not you trying to now start emphasizing and, trying to tell them all of this and what is not. Now, for me, it's very easy to get data, I feel. So although it's not so easy because getting people to comply to all these organizational prompts can be like work at times, and you have to, but that aside, once you have the data, it now comes to you analyzing the data. So if you have all the data on Excel sheet, you have to now begin to interpret them, create a dashboard for it that makes it look presentable. When you have an automated performance management system, there's little or no effort into data analysis. Just put in your data. The system automatically picks it up, processes it, and puts it on your dashboard. You can see the progress, which is visible to all. So it's not like, my team lead does not like me. It's because we wear the same shoe. That's why no, everybody can see. There's a lot of transparency. So it's like already mentioned while she was trying to start this conversation, the bulk of the work is being done by the system. So there's a little effort that you require to just come there and make your inputs. Now your performance review is accessible. Performance review is a lot, right? Putting everybody's efforts in one sheet is a lot, but when you're working around with automated system, all of these things, all you need to do, get the objective from the management, type them on the dashboard, assign it to people, everybody picks it up from there. Their progress is monitorable, and I'm sure Oyin is going to take us through. So how do you implement OKR, right? You have here your objectives. So like I said, you put in the objectives. So your company might have more than 4 objectives in a quarter or in a month, right? So you put in the key objectives, the objective, sorry. Then the team leads, they put in their key results. You see, this is just like a snippet of what it looks like. So 3 major processes. The management team tells the whole organization about the objective. The team leads, they cascade it into key results. They go to their team members and they begin to draw up tasks and initiative, and you begin to track. And at this point, I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Oyinlola, as she walks us through how you can do this, something more practical using paid platform. Thank you so much for listening. I'm sure I will take our questions and we can take it afterwards.
Yes, thank you so much, LDA, for that brief, yet very insightful into everything OKRs and everything in between. I, for one, I'm not a HR professional, but as a team lead, I was just taking notes and nodding my head because of the knowledge, right? And something that really stood out for me was when you said that KPIs make you feel busy, right? They make you feel like, oh yes, you're working, you're doing a lot of things, but the outcomes, the results, why are you doing those things that you're doing? That is what OKRs tackle, right? Yeah. And I think it's very important to go the OKR way.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because it just makes everything clearer. By the time you have your objectives streamlined and you know that, okay, this is what we want to achieve, it's like you're walking backwards, right? So you have a goal in front of you. You then have to think, okay, how can I achieve these goals? Yeah, so thank you so much for that. And
Thank
like
you
you
so
have
much,
rightly said, I will be passing the mantle to Lola Olawale, who's our HR technical expert in-house. Oyin, are you there?
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
And if you can hear me and can see me.
Yes. So welcome Oyin, who's going to be going into the paid software. As I said earlier, paid is a HR solution that enables HR professionals have restful and stressful experience doing their job so that they can sleep well at night. We take care of all the heavy lifting, all the hard work, so that you can focus on the things that matter most to you. We also give you insights that enable you do your job even better for maximum results. So Oyin is going to be going into paid, and she's going to be doing a walkthrough of how you can practicalize or action everything that LDA has said. So over to you, Oyin.
All right, thank you for having me. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I will be sharing my screen now. And I think this is a workshop, so I would also be asking for suggestions from everyone. Hi, Precious. Okay, so I'll share my screen now. All right, I just want to confirm, all right, if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can.
All right, great, thank you. So this is what paid looks like, but today we're just going to be we're going to the performance model, as that is what concerns us. So LDA again for breaking down what OKR means. And I'm sure even people who haven't used this method before, obviously have gotten something. So please, let's take the learnings from LDA and we're going to, this is like practical, and we're going to apply it here. All right, and I'll be doing it along with you guys as well. So the first thing we want to mention, for example, Tomisin had said that the period at which we do performance, sometimes, we can't wait till 6 months, we can't wait till end of the year to start measuring what people are doing. So we want to first of all set up our company period, and I'm just going to reduce my Zoom screen so I can see what I'm doing. Okay. So first things first, we want to set up a period as to what are we reviewing people on? What is this performance period? What is it actually? So click on add a new period, and I select the period name. So I would say we're in Q3 now. So I would just say maybe Q3 2023. It could be anything you want to name your period. This is just an example. And so when is my start date? So let's say maybe my start date is from July 1st, for instance. Now, LDA explained the balance scorecard method, and she also explained the OKR method. Now, at paid, we want to make sure that our categories of customers, right, they're able to find whatever works for their organization. So I'm aware, and we know that some people still use the balance scorecard method while others use the OKR method. So we'll be familiar with, capacity building, financials, etc. It's synonymous with setting up your balance scorecard method. But when you're using OKR, you just use 100% for others, right? And I would click on finish. So it means that I have created this new company period called Q3 2023, right? Let me just take this here. Right, and just wait for it to that again. Okay, so there's a Q4 here, right? Okay. So now I saw LDA slides where she was setting up some key results, and please don't take that knowledge away, because I'll be asking for suggestions in setting up a key result and an objective, as LDA has just taught us how to set those. So I'm just going to do it again. Now, once we finished setting up the period, we now need to start creating things like the company objective, right? So for instance, I thought about a company objective in my head. And so for instance, the organization wants to increase revenue by, sorry about that, say 30%, right? This is what the organization wants to achieve within the period that they have set up, right? So what is the start date for that period? In this period that I selected 1st of October. So I would say the end date is December 2023, for instance. This is just an example. And increasing revenue is a financial objective, right? So I select financial and I click on finish. Okay, so I have just created this company objective, increase revenue by 30%. And it is a financial objective, right? So let me try to create another objective that is more familiar to our audience, right? So let's say the company wants to foster a culture of continuous learning, the culture of continuous learning, for instance. Learning and development. employee. I say employees to empower employees, right? So that's what the company wants to achieve, to empower employees, right? And we're starting again, select the start date and select the end date. Let's say this is just a 1 month objective, for instance. I don't want it to cascade into 3 months or more. And it is a, say, capacity building objective, and I click on finish. Now that is, we created company objective, right? So when creating, there's this method I try to think about. So if we created the company objectives, for the team or departmental objective, we need to think of it as, what do we want to achieve and how do we want to measure it? So the departmental objective would be, I want to achieve this, and this is how I will measure it, right? So when we go to objectives, we will start seeing how to do that and how that works. And that's where I would need your suggestions as well. So from performance, from company period, I would go to objectives and select what performance period I want to focus on. I want to focus my attention on, right? So I want to focus my attention on Q4. This is a test that I was doing, so I'll just delete and remove it from here. So again, we try to make sure that on paid, there might be times where you make a mistake, for instance, and you delete. We want to be sure that you really want to delete this. And that's why there are like 2 layers, for instance. So let me just refresh my page and that will be gone. Okay. All right. Okay, so I've successfully deleted that one. So now I want to create a new objective, right? So I select create new objective. And what is my objective name? Before I start from my objective name, let me set up the company period. So the company period is Q4. And what objective am I looking into? Let's start from increasing revenue by 30%. Now, this increasing revenue by 30%, again, we just went through creating objectives and thinking about what objective we want to. So make sure that it is a good objective, right? It is not just something that looks like you're just wasting your time, right? You can measure it, right? So if the company has said they want to increase their company, they want to increase revenue by 30%, this particular department, how can your work, right, feed into what the company has stated? So this objective I'm creating is for the sales department. And for sales department, they want to, in order to increase revenue by 30%, they want to achieve, right? They would like to achieve, let's say they have to achieve 30% growth, right? 30% growth in sales, right? Compared to last year. So every member of the sales department would know how are we going to achieve this 30% growth in sales compared to what we have last year. Now, when setting up objective, you also have to select what group type. Is this objective an organizational goal, organizational objective, a departmental, individual, or it's for a select group of people? So for this objective, it's a departmental objective. I'm sorry, I'm going too fast. Okay. So what department is this going to be? Say sales. Obviously, sales want to increase revenue, right? And who is the owner of this objective, right? It could be the head of the department. It could even be it could be anyone, right? So I choose Oyemaris as the owner of this. And then what is the start date, right? They want to do it till, is it the entire Q4 or beginning? So remember, our period started from October, so we have to, take that in consideration. Again, it could be 1 month, like Tomisi had said. It could be 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, whatever works for your organization. Paid would allow you to do that. So I will just publish this objective, right? Okay, so my objective is live. Achieve 30% growth in sales compared to last year, and it is under the company objective that says increase revenue by 30%. Now, this is where it gets interesting. all you HR has to do is set up the company objective, right? This increase revenue by 30%. What we want to do at Paid is automate HR processes so that you can do other work that you should be doing, right? Repetitive tasks like this should be automated to give you more time to, I know that there are a million things. LDA is our own HR, and I see her work and a million things that she has to do, right? So you don't want to be the one to sit down to, okay, all the time, create all the objectives, create all the key results. No, what Paid has automated for you is create your company objectives, and it notifies every other person in the department or in the organization as a whole that, the company objectives are set up. Head of department, managers, start putting your team objectives there so that employees can start putting their key results, right? So under this objective, I would say, as a salesperson, right, how would I achieve 30% growth in sales compared to last year, right? I want to maybe sign up maybe 50 customers, right? So let me say I want to close 50 new deals, right? Remember that your key results has to be, you should be able to measure it, right? It shouldn't just be vague or anything. How do we measure it, right? And that's why we put these metrics here, these metrics of measurement, right? So I want to close 15 new deals. It means that it is a number. So I select this and I put the number that I want to measure here, right? And who is the assignee, right? What am I assigning it to? Even if maybe the head of department is only Mars, but I want to assign it to Kofi, for instance. And this person's target is, let's say, 30, for instance. And I want them to start, again, remember that it should be within the period that you selected. So I'm careful to say, okay, this is when I want it to start and this is how I want it to end. Okay, so now I've created this key result and I just click on create, for instance, right? Close 50 new deals. This is a company objective, or this is an objective that has been done. Now, I remember that I wanted your help as well to create more, company objectives, for instance. So we created foster a culture of continuous learning. So when we're creating the objective, I would, if you want to help out, right? So created the company objective, company period first, select that. Company objective will come up and I'll select which one I want. So foster a culture of continuous learning. So if there's anyone that wants to give me an example of an objective that would fit into fostering a culture of continuous learning and development. I am not looking at my screen now, but already you can help me if there's anyone that wants to give any description.
Okay, there's nothing in the chat box yet. I also don't see hands raised just yet. Can you repeat the question so that I can help amplify?
Oh, okay. So the question was, there is a company objective that says foster a culture of continuous learning and development to empower employees. It is a HR focused company objective. So I was just asking for a departmental objective sample, for instance, that I can impute here based off what LDA has taught us and how to create objectives that matter. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Hi everyone. So Oyi is basically asking for us to get interactive with her. So if you have any ideas of the kind of description that she can use for the objective per department, please just put up your hands. Let's not leave her hanging.
I have something already. I was just opening it up, right? So let me just put that in. Say implement, for instance, I want to foster a culture of continuous learning. So as the head of department in HR, human resources, to do that, I want to probably implement maybe training courses, right? Training programs, implement training programs to say address skill gap.
Okay, so people are dropping ideas in the box for you.
Okay. 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 Let me hear it.
Yes, so actually there's someone who mentioned implement training and workshop. There is also implement in-house knowledge share sessions. Yeah, so most responses have to do with what you already mentioned.
Okay. Trainings and workshop. Great.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what we want to do. And select group type, departmental, select department, human resources, select an owner. Unpaid, right? When you select the department, it will only come up to show you people in the department. So it's easier. You don't have to sift through a lot of people. You're seeing who you need to see, right? So these 3 people are the ones in human resources. So I select who the owner is, for instance, right? No, let me select this person. Okay. Then what is the start date? Again, you want to make sure that the start date is within the period that you have selected. So implementing training and workshops, for instance, let's say this department, it will take 1 month for them to do that. They are confident that they will do that within 1 month, right? And I publish it. Now, just like you helped me with the objective, I also need you to help me with the key results. So if I'm implementing trainings and workshops, what is a key result that I can add? Remember that your key result has to be measured, needs to be measured, right? So again, Ora, please help me.
All right, I'm checking the chat box.
Okay.
Yes, so please drop in your suggestions. Let's keep
Maybe
it.
there's a gift for the most interactive person. Who knows?
Person,
Who
right?
knows? Who knows? Who knows?
Okay, so I have one, a minimum of
Okay.
2 trainings to be held per month.
Okay, so 2 trainings held per month, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, trainings held per month. I wouldn't put the number here. And say, so remember when I was selecting the period, I said a month. So this is October, right? So I said two trainings. It is a number, right? So who is the assignee? Who is the person heading? Could be one or multiple people. You can decide to do that and maybe say, for instance. What is the start date? Again, I'm going to go to October. Yes. Okay, let me take out one person and I'm going to create that. Now you may ask that, okay, once I set up my key results, right? How do I track? How do I come here to say I've started? How do I give proof, right? How do I tell my manager? How do I even do anything? You've said you've given me the results you've given me the key results. How do I do that, right? So as an employee, right? Every employee would be able to update their progress, right? So again, I am viewing from my administrative side. As the HR, you lead HR, HR executive, whatever the role is, you are the administrator of paid, right? For your organization. You will be doing a whole lot of functions on paid. And as the admin, this is probably not the view, or this is exactly not the view for employees, right? Because we are spent out of time, and so I will just quickly just show you how to update your progress. So let's say for implementing trainings and workshops, and I want to hold trainings, 2 trainings per month, for instance, I want to update my progress. Okay, so this is the title of the key result. This is my progress here. I'm supposed to end October. I'm supposed to start 1st of October, right? And my progress is 0.00, for instance. So me as the employee come here to say, okay, I want to update my progress. Let's say I already even started, or we have said, okay, I've done 1. What is the comment, right? As the employee and the owner of this key result, you need to put a comment to know that, okay, you've done this. So I can say skill acquisition training held already, skill acquisition training done. How do you spell acquisition? Okay, training done. And you can also put a proof here. It's optional, but if you have a screenshot, a PDF, a document, whatever it is, so that when they are appraising this person, I know that this person has done what they've done. So most of the times, employees, even myself, I used to look at performance as something that, why are they trying to monitor what I'm doing? But even as an employee, and if you see what you're doing, when you're seeing what's your key results, how it feeds into your department, and bottom line, how it feeds into the company's progress and goals, you'd appreciate performance management more, because it also helps you set out, what have I achieved, what have I done so far, and how am I doing that? And you can quickly adjust or make adjustments where you need to do, study more, do more things to just close that gap. So I'll update this, and it means that this person has already started working on their key results. So that is the end of this demonstration. And as Ore probably mentioned earlier, that this is a series and we'll be doing more, and I hope to be here again the next session. Thank you very much for having me.
So much. Thank you so much, Oyinlola. That was very, very detailed. Even though, our village people, the internet, aka internet, were a little bit against us, but I mean, it was quite a brilliant walkthrough, but that's just my own perspective. So now I'll be throwing that open. At this point, if you have questions, okay, so we have one question already. I'd like to take all the questions at the same time so that Oyin can just handle them. I'll be taking about 2 questions. Yes, so please drop your questions in the chat box. I'm looking through, and Oyin's also doing that, and will also attend to your questions. I would also like to add at this point that 2 things will be happening. We're pretty much at the end of the workshop for today. But we'll be doing 2 things before we go. One is that we're going to be taking a poll, a very short poll, which is essentially meant to just hear from you if this was worth your while. What do you think about the session? Was it everything you thought? Did it meet your expectations? How can we do even better to match your expectations? And that's one. Secondly, we're going to be having a virtual consultation. So if you like to see more about what Oyin has shown you, so more about performance on paid and the likes, there's a breakout room for you where more of our experts will be, doing a consultation. If you also like to know more about paid payroll, how you can remit your statutory remittances via paid, or other features that paid offers, there's a breakout room for you to consult with our experts as well. All right, Oyin, I have 2 questions in the chat box now.
Okay.
Yes. So first question is, in fact, both questions are similar. Yeah. So
Okay.
how do you get the software, and what is the price range? The second one is how to get the software, then how much is it, and the training. Like I said, very similar questions. Yeah.
Okay, so the software, right? The software is available, right? We have a subscription model, and I'm sure we can drop a chat in an email or a phone number. Our sales team should be on this call, and they would reach out to you on what it costs and how to according to the amount of employees you have and what you want to achieve from the product. So performance management is one of the models that we have, right? On the software, and so you can stay around. Our sales team would be in the breakout rooms, and they'll be able to collect your email and phone number. You can ask them all the questions that you want to ask them. The training, it's just there's no cost for that. I don't understand training. We're not taking money from you for training. Another question is, how do you take an appraisal at the end of the OKR in a quarter? So I mentioned at the end of my presentation that for this session, we are talking on understanding OKRs and even how to automate it. However, things like reviews, ratings, all of that are also taken care of and they are part of performance management as well. So after you set up all of this, all your key results, then you now start appraising and start reviewing that employee. And interestingly, paid would also be holding a session on that, and we love to see you in that as well.
Yeah.
Another question here says, do the software have store management, inventory? Right, so paid is automated, right, for HR processing, HRS, from all the way from onboarding to even exit, right? So we have a module that takes care of assets, right? So assets management, things like company tools, things like whatever it is that the organization is giving the employees. But we, as of today, do not have anything that would take care of your store management, right? Okay, if one is to choose, okay, all right, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, so because of time,
Okay.
we have to wrap up this phase of the session right now.
Right.
But
Okay.
Aminat, like I said, we're having a virtual consultation right on this call once we're done with the poll. So based off of your question, which is what makes paid stand out, I think that you have to join the breakout room too, so you get to have that question answered. So I'm hoping that you stay around. Yes. Hi, Benga, are you ready with the poll?
Good afternoon. Yes, Ore.
All right. So please, everyone would really like for us to, participate in the poll. It's basically just for us to know how we can serve you better. How was the session? Did we meet your expectations? Did we hit the mark? Did we say what you wanted us to say? Or we were just, regurgitating everything that you already know. So your opinions, your thoughts via the poll will really help us design a better experience for you, for Thrive. And as I said earlier, Thrive is a workshop series powered by Paid to enable HR professionals, HR leaders be more tech inclined in the modern world of work. So yes, so thank you as you answer. Please, let's keep the responses coming. And right after this, we will be bringing the session to an end. However, if you'd like to join, if you'd like to learn more about our automated performance management system, maybe there was something Oyin spoke about that you needed more clarity on, there is a room for you. If you like to learn more about payroll instead, or the other HR features that we offer on Paid, there's also a room for you. Thank you everyone for joining. Hi, Benga, are we good with the polls? Thank you so much for the feedback, Precious. Great. All right, so Benga tells me that the polls are good to go. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Thank you to our speakers, even though they're in-house, but I mean, we really appreciate you, and we want to say thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you all for everyone joining. The breakout rooms are open now. Benga, please let's open the breakout rooms so that people can join their relevant rooms. In each room, we have our experts who are going to be answering all your questions about Paid's performance, Paid's payroll, Paid's employee management. So yes. And if you do not have any other questions, if you don't like to consult, we've come to the end of the workshop. Yes, and we have a recording for you. So you're rest assured that no knowledge is lost and you'll be able to catch up even after this session. There's more to come with Thrive. So expect more invitations where we'll delve more into reviews, payroll, remittances, off-cycle schedules, and the likes. Okay, I think it should be up in about a minute. Please excuse technical. Yes, Amarachi has their hand up.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
So I really enjoyed the section. I just wanted to drop a question. Regarding payroll, I know it's not about performance, but you mentioned payroll. Regarding payroll, do you guys handle global payroll in situations you have employees outside Nigeria? Hello?
I am actually good to have you here. I'm sure we'll be able to handle that in break room session 1. All right, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here. I'm listening. I can hear you.
Yeah, so I'm sure Ora will take that question and you will learn more about payroll management for cross borders in breakout session 1.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, please. I'm sorry, my internet's locked me out. So Amarachi, you were saying, I'm not sure if LDA answered your question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, she mentioned ORE, so I believe you're ORE, right? That ORE we attend to it. So I know it's not about performance, but you mentioned about payroll, so they are kind of related. I wanted to ask if you guys handle global payroll when you have employees outside the country.
Yes, so we cater to distributed teams. I'm assuming that that's what you mean. Yes, we do cater to distributed teams.
Okay.
Yes. I would be taking down your name now so that our experts can reach out to you to discuss more and answer any other questions that you might have. I hope that's okay.
Yes, sure, that's fine.
All right. So Amarachi Nwaku. Thank you so much. While the breakout rooms were having some technical issues with that, I believe that it's okay to take your questions now. I'll just like for my colleagues, Abraham, Tosi, and Josh to be on standby to answer some of those questions. As I said at the beginning of the call, I'm not alone. So if you have questions that you like to ask about paid or any of our features, it's okay to do that now.
Hi, Hore. I remember during my session, there was a question that asked, how do you get the software and how much is it? So I think that's one questions that we can note, and then the sales team can answer.
Okay, so are you saying answer on this call?
Oh, you were asking for questions, so they can note that down. So, I said they were going to answer it in the breakout room or get back to that person.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I think it was Precious and
Adekemi AD.
Yes, Adekemi AD.
Yeah.
All right, so we're closing all consultation rooms now. Thank you all so much for joining us on our first episode of Thrive. Thank you all so much. All rooms are closing now. Thank you all once again. It's been a really great time with you. We'll be in touch. For those who we took down their contact details, we'll be in touch to continue the conversation. See you next month for the next Thrive.